One battle after another quietly mirrors Tom Cruise's darkest role 26 years later. As the tail end of 2025 approaches, the cinematic landscape is bound to turn from uninspiring to jam-packed in a snap. The first hint of awards season fever was felt this past weekend, as Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another swung into cinemas and set the movie-loving world ablaze. The Leonardo DiCaprio-led film has everyone, from the casual moviegoer to the hardcore cinephile, buzzing with excitement. Endless comparisons are being drawn between One Battle After Another and other action chase films, but the most potent parallel for many Anderson fans is a 26-year-old Tom Cruise classic, Magnolia. In the 26 years since Magnolia, perspectives have changed, people have grown, and society has evolved. But at the very core of both films lies a familiar fear that Paul Thomas Anderson in particular loves to explore. One Battle After Another and Magnolia are closer thematically than you might think. One Battle After Another hit cinemas this past week and is quickly cementing itself as a critical favorite, awards frontrunner, and moderate box office success. The success can partially be attributed to the film being far and away the most accessible of Paul Thomas Anderson's career, more closely mirroring manhunt movies like The French Connection and Anderson is somewhat ambiguous with this ending. Will his actions, methods, or causes of choice are never revealed, so it's impossible to tell if she is breaking the familial chain or following in her footsteps. One Battle After Another refuses to pick a side. It doesn't make a distinction on the right way to rebel, and instead, simply lays out the facts of what happened to Ghetto Pat, Deandra, Perfidia, and the rest of the French 75, and allows viewers to come to their own conclusion. Do chains need to be broken? Is change impossible? Can the next generation learn from the mistakes of those before them? One Battle After Another is a mature film that doesn't attempt to answer these questions, but Magnolia, a film made by a precocious 28-year-old, absolutely does. Magnolia has a handful of loosely connected subplots to consider, but the connective tissue between them all, aside from the obvious, Wise Up, Sing Along, and The Reign of Frogs, is the presence of absentee fathers and broken families. Whether it's Tom Cruise's frank T.J. Mackey character with his father, Earl, and the impassioned bedside breakdown that results from their first interaction in decades. Whether it's Claudia desperately trying to move on from the abuse inflicted on her by her father, Jimmy. Whether it's Stanley, bright-eyed, innocent, and incredibly worldly, trying to find his own passions and move about the world, but being constantly pulled down by his leech-like, abusive father. All the way into the cut remnants of the original screenplay, characters like Dixon, the prophetic rapping kid, are trained into behaving the way they do by the parental figures in their life. The place where these two films differ, though, is that Magnolia has no ambiguity in this particular aspect. A young Anderson made it very clear that these chains of abuse need to be broken, whether through forgiveness, violence, death, new life, having a shoulder to cry on, or just asserting yourself. It's a realistic, humanist take on the situation, but it also clearly comes from a neophyte filmmaker. As Anderson has aged, had children of his own, and built a family, he likely came to the realization that breaking these chains isn't always an easy feat, and that, sometimes, people have to embrace their past to properly tackle it. Paul Thomas Anderson has been building towards this movie for his entire career. One Battle After Another, in many ways, feels like the culmination or the grand finale of an artist's career. So many famous directors have had this moment. Stanley Kubrick went out on a high note with the similarly Tom Cruise-led Eyes Wide Shut. Sergio Leone traded in his Western stylings for his final film and breathed new life into the gangster genre with Once Upon a Time in America. Robert Altman, a personal idol of Paul Thomas Anderson's, went out with a fittingly sentimental final film, A Prairie Home Companion, which Anderson actually worked on as a standby director. Even contemporary directors like Quentin Tarantino, with his 10-film obsession, seek to go out on a high with one final project that encapsulates a career and life well spent. One Battle After Another truly feels like this last hurrah for Anderson, which makes the realization that the man is only 55 years old all the more confusing. The reality of the situation is, barring any misfortune, he still has another 20 to 30 years of masterful filmmaking left in the tank. While One Battle After Another may not be the last hurrah that it seems like on paper, the project has still been a long time coming, both in the literal sense and in the eyes of audience members.